When we think about time, I think many of us spend our time in the past. And that's because we spend a lot of time, or we spend a lot of time thinking about maybe bad situations that have happened in the past. As human beings, I think we tend to focus on the bad and not the good. So many of us spend our time rethinking about, past traumatic experiences or past experiences that made you not happy. And the other, and sometimes that could give you anxiety. The other thing is the future. Many of us spend our time worrying about the future. How am I supposed to take care of myself? I'm an adult. How much money will I make in the future? Will I be able to pay my debts in the future? What job will I have in the future? Will I have kids in the future? We spend a lot of time worrying about the future. But ultimately, it always boils down to the present. The only time that we have is now. So I believe that we should learn to live in the present, be present, learn to live in the present, and be intentional. Because you have no control over the past, you have no control over the future. The only time that you have is now. So I urge my fellow Toastmasters, and all my guests to live in the now, because that's the only time that you have.
Thank you very much for that wonderful speech. I found that you are very alacritous in providing us with a very imagination-provoking story. You made a comparison between networking and various survivalist skills of the Khoisan hunter-gatherers. I don't know about everyone else, but I was imagining you going through your networking event, using these different skills as you outlined in these 3 different parts of your speech. Furthermore, I think that you were exceptionally well organized. One thing that highlights this more than anything else is that you took 6 minutes and 53 seconds to do your speech. That shows that you have rehearsed it and that you prepared very, very well. And to see this alacritous energy coming from you for your first speech in a very long time was wonderful. Mm-hmm. What I recommend you work on is your lighting and your camera position. What's very helpful, especially coming from an online platform, and you may have heard this in one of our past evaluations, but you were unfortunately not available. If you have a light behind your laptop, that makes an absolutely immense difference for everyone else watching. You won't have shadows casting onto the wall or shadows casting across your face. And secondly, to just raise your laptop up. If you're using a laptop, if you're using a camera, you can raise your camera up so that we're roughly eye level, so that we don't seem like we're looking down on you or you're looking down on us. To challenge yourself, I recommend working a little bit more on your vocal variety. In general, your vocal variety does change. It wasn't monotonous at all. But to change your vocal variety completely for different parts, I feel like that was a missed opportunity. To speak about how you were prowling the event, keeping aware of all the different groups around and all of their different aspects. I think that would have been fantastic. Overall, the structure, the enthusiasm that you came through with to present your speech as well as the creativity demonstrated in using these Khoisan survivalist skills in your networking event. I feel that was a wonderful speech and a fantastic way to get the ball rolling.
Good evening, Mariswe Toastmasters, and thank you for this opportunity to let me introduce myself and share with you tonight. My name is Carmen, and I'm one of the newest members of the Mariswe Toastmasters. And tonight, as you know, I'll be presenting my ice-breaking speech. Who is Carmen de Beer? Who exactly is she? Over the next 6 minutes, which will now be 5 minutes, as we've heard there's a shortening, I will be unpacking this exact question in 6 different ways. Why 6 different ways as to who is Carmen? Well, the reality is that every single person in this call and that I've met and that you have met has a different interpretation of answering this question. Each is tainted by their own understanding, experiences, biases, and honestly, how deeply they've met themselves. So let's dive into the first way of looking at this question. And this is looking at where someone is from. I was born in Morningside Clinic in Johannesburg, South Africa, on Tuesday, the 6th of May. My parents came from humble Afrikaans backgrounds and worked incredibly hard to put themselves through university, and both graduated with law degrees. I grew up in the sheltered and privileged sunny suburb of Bryanston, and I attended a top private school called St. Stithians College. And I mostly went about my life in a blissfully unaware and ignorant fashion. At school, I was very involved. I was enthusiastic and a well-rounded student. I played first team sports, worked hard academically, and took part in all sorts of things. After school, I attended the University of Cape Town, where I graduated with a chemical engineering degree, and I'm now an AI, and I'm now a data engineer at a top AI enablement firm called Terraflow AI. And so that's where I'm from, and that's how some people might understand me. The second way of looking at who I am is in the broad strokes that we paint each other with. As you can see, I'm a woman. I'm white. I have blue, gray, green eyes, depending on the day, and I'm English speaking. I'm an Enneagram type 2, which is the considerate helper, and some words to describe this Enneagram are warm, giving, community focused. My star sign is Taurus, and for those that know astrology, the symbolic nature of a Taurus is a bull. As a Taurus, I'm described as fiercely loyal, hardworking, stubborn, grounded, and dependable. I'm an ENFJ on the 16 personality test, which is the protagonist. And the natural traits of this personality are extroverted, intuitive, feeling, and judging. I'm said to be warm and love helping others and to be a natural leader. So there's a whole bunch of boxes for you to tick or to put me in. The third way that some might define me is by my core values. And the 4 that I hold very dear are honesty, love, exceptional, and contribution. Honesty is the first one, as I believe if you don't have integrity with what you're doing, it's tainted and poisoned from the start. Love is something I always hold dear, and I always try and show up in the most loving and honest way, and no matter the situation. That could mean showing up with love and kindness and understanding. Exceptional goes hand in hand with my last core value, which is contribution. I believe we only have one life, and even if we believe in an afterlife, or we are religious and we think we're going to heaven or a better place, to be honest, there's no scientific evidence that we are going to live this exact moment ever again. And therefore, I'm a huge champion of squeezing the zest out of life and living it to its absolute fullest. This means I try and be as exceptional as I, Carmen, can be at everything I do. This does not mean perfection. This means that I'm focused on growth and pushing myself to be the best version and to contribute as fully as I can in whatever I do. The fourth way of looking at this question, which is who is Carmen, is looking at the school blazer, the CV, the LinkedIn profile, and all the accolades that someone has achieved. So here are following few of mine. I achieved a average in my matric year. I was a provincial player and a squash captain and a prefect at school. I achieved 70% for my final year mark of my degree. I've done numerous internships, including a Nedbank Cons program. And this year I was selected as a McKinsey Next Generation Women's Leader for 2022, which is a global accolade. The fifth way of looking at this is how much someone has overcome and what they've overcome. And without being here for too much longer, at age 10, I was diagnosed with dyslexia and ADD, and no one truly explained that to me as a small child. And so I struggled for long with self-confidence issues around my intellectual capabilities. At 18, my parents got divorced, and coming from a very close family, it was shocking and definitely difficult to process while trying to be a top achiever. When I was 25, I decided to move to a new city and give a speech at a Toastmasters with a bunch of people I didn't really know who were counting my ums and ahs. The sixth way is honestly up to you and how you would like to answer the question which we started tonight with. Who is Carmen de Beer? It's your interpretation, and once again, how deeply you've met yourself, that you can understand the ways I've presented to you tonight. It's up to you to decide how you meet others and how you will meet me tonight, and which part of the 6 ways that I've shown will be important to you.